Some characteristics of modernism in literature are a strong and intentional break with tradition, life is unordered, literary works possessing certain loosely defined characteristics, no historical value, it has nothing to do with history, and general descriptions of things. The poem I used for the Modernism Project is called Study of Two Pairs by Wallace Stevens. As you can see on the left is an excerpt from the poem. It's actually stanza 3. And then on the right I showed some different modernism characteristics and how they intertwine with with his writings. Here I show a few examples of simplistic descriptions that Stevens uses in his poem when he's describing the pairs. Uh, Typically, the modernism period has simplistic descriptions, as I said, but is just generic overall descriptions of the uh, object, whatever it is. In this case, it's the pairs. In stanza 2, he talks about their color and their shape, and in stanza 5, he shows how they glisten and the overskin and what it looks like in its texture. In stanza 4, it shows how they have bits of blue and talks about their leaves and the stem. This is just proof that in this modernism writing, like all other modernism writings, there really isn't any apparent order. On this slide, I just show a few of the characteristics of modernism that we talked about earlier that are actually used in the poem. Stevens uses many general or generic observations of the pairs to describe them to the reader. This poem is mostly consisted of a description of two pairs, and it also is, when read, he never talks in the past tense and he never hints on history. Everything is right there, right now, kind of thing, and which is apparent in all modernism writings. A couple more characteristics of modernism that were used in the poem were traditionally a poem tells a story that has a meaning to it, but it is apparent that in this poem that didn't really happen. That's typical in a lot of modernism writings, and it's mostly a description of pairs for this poem. When Wallace Stevens is describing the pairs, he goes in no apparent order. It's a random order that he goes through, just like he doesn't talk about the base, then the stem, then the leaves, then the color. There's no real general guidelines you have to go by.